Here we are again.
Well, what happened?
Still wearing the same clothes.
Yes, Lena suggested to change clothes, but I said, well, I think it's not necessary.
No, we
We
simply.
just decided to record another episode because I feel comfortable talking about my master or listening to these things. And some days ago, mm, Lena said to me, asked me, so what happened to you? What happened? And I said, I think I'm missing my master.
Hmm.
This that you are now in charge and you're always in charge and everyone is coming and asking you and you have to decide and I'm missing that person who has the authority to say to me, shut up, everything is fine. So we go on talking about the master.
Maybe you can give me temporary authority.
No, that's not possible. It's
I know it is not
impossible.
possible.
That's impossible.
I knew.
You can have that authority with other people, not with me.
I understand.
Okay, now go
Yes.
on.
After Hendrik and I installed the windows in the mosque, there was no new order for stained glass windows and I lost my job.
They were 8 meters high. They were arches, no? The glass, 8 meters high. Two of them, all stained glass.
And you produced them in one
In
piece?
pieces, no, in pieces.
Mhm.
1 meter, 1 meter,
Yeah.
more or less. Beautiful.
A few days later, the chocolate manufacturer showed up at our little house. The neighbors called out to us excitedly because everyone here knew the millionaire. The man came to our apartment. His name was Bekir. He had found out that I had lost my job with Hendrik and offered me to come to his villa on the banks of the Bosphorus once a week to give him German lessons. His home was only about a kilometer away from where we lived. We agreed for the next Tuesday afternoon at 4 o'clock. As agreed, I appeared at the large iron gate of the property. It opened, and Bekir invited me into a salon where we drank coffee and had a conversation in German. Bekir had attended a German high school in Istanbul and spoke perfect German. Below the window stretched a well-tended garden that bordered the waters of the Bosphorus. At some point during our conversation, Bekir asked me how much he had to pay me for the lesson. I looked at him, laughed, and replied, nothing. What should you pay for? We sit here, drink coffee, and enjoy the wonderful view. I would have to pay you for it. There was a package on the opposite wall. I ask you not to discuss and accept whatever I offer you, Bekir said. As I said goodbye, he handed me the package full of chocolate and cookies. When I arrived home and opened the package with my wife, in addition to the cookies, there was an envelope with money inside. Exactly the same amount I would have received for making LED windows for a week. I didn't have to worry about my support for the rest of my stay in Istanbul.
Hmm?
Do you know if he was a part of any order?
His father,
His father.
he not. His father, yes. His father was known. He not. Mm.
It was a beautiful.
But there are many ways to appreciate. There's a story of the Buddhist, a man who became a Buddhist with his teacher, and after a long time, he said to him, "Look, this praying and all these activities, they are not for me. It's not what I'm looking for in life. So if you give me permission to leave, I would like to leave."
Hmm.
And the master said, "Yes, of course, you are free, you can leave." But that man later, he became quite rich and he always sent a lot of money to the master to maintain his activities. So there are different ways of supporting something, no, or agreeing with something, but maybe personally for you, it's not to sit there the whole time quiet. That's not for you, no?
Yeah.
So you have a different job in the whole thing, no? It's a very strange situation in Istanbul, in the Derga. There are a lot of millionaires
Mm-hmm.
because, I mean, they give on one night food for 600 people. So someone has to pay that. And the master was never a wealthy man. So there are people who pay that. And then there are people who are living on the street. They're really beggars. And I always was observing that situation, asking myself, so why these millionaires do not help these people who are living on the street?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they did. I don't know, no? But maybe not. That's what life is, and you come here for your spiritual journey, and in this moment you are on at that point of your journey, and the millionaire is on a different point of your journey, and that's it. No, and there in that place they were all equal. Absolutely, there was no difference, and that the master would listen more to one than to the other. No, no, no.
An equalizer.
Mhm.
It was a beautiful sunny afternoon, and I was sitting with Anna on a bench right by the water of the Bosphorus. A lot of hungry cats were roaming around there. On our right, a fishing boat was upside down on the bank. Unexpectedly, under this boat, a black, healthy cat appeared with shiny fur. I made a joke and said, "Look, that's the Baba." The black cat ran straight to the water. A fisherman who was fishing on the Bosphorus came within 2 meters of the shore in his small boat. The cat jumped across the water onto his boat. And now the man rowed a little again into the open water, opened a box, and brought out of it a fish that he offered to the cat. The cat took the fish across its mouth without eating it. Then the fisherman headed back to the shore. In the meantime, the hungry cats had put themselves close to the water in a semicircle. The boat stopped again about 2 meters from the shore. The black cat jumped onto the bank with the fish in its mouth, entered the semicircle, and laid the fish there. Then it turned around, and as it stared at the water, the hungry cats ate the gift. When Baba heard the story, he commented that the spiritual being could often appear in the body of an animal to teach us something. In this case, a lesson for you. And he added, never forget, whatever you receive is not for you, but for others. He announced that many things like that would happen to me from now on, that I would attract and enjoy these type of events.
Mm.
We had met another multimillionaire, a silk manufacturer. Over dinner in his apartment in Istanbul, he talked about how he had flown in a helicopter to Bursa to ski the previous weekend for 3 hours straight to the slopes. That had cost him about $1,000. I looked at him in surprise and asked, how many people work for you? I take care of the maintenance of 2,000 families.
Instead of the well-being, I take care of the well-being of 2,000 families.
And so it's okay to enjoy life a little bit too.
Yeah, the difference is these workers are working 8 hours and he's working 24 hours. It's never stopping. He's always thinking about what to do, how to do, and
While walking through our village, I noticed an old man sitting on the steps in front of his house with his eyes wide open. Next to him were a girl and a woman who looked around helplessly. They seemed to be looking for help. I approached, and it seemed as if the old man had suffered a heart attack. I sat down next to him, took his hand in mine, and spoke to him in my own language. The man seemed to calm down, and soon a doctor appeared. I said goodbye and continued my walk. The next morning, we found an envelope with money and the words, "Thank you," on our doorstep.
That is Turkey. And that is to have the courage to go over and sit next to them. And what can you do? I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I don't know what to
Don't
do.
speak the language.
I do not even speak the language, so I don't know what to do. But I cannot walk just by and don't do anything. At least I can sit next to him and hold his hand, no? Mhm.
Yakub Baba, a master of the order of the whirling dervishes, invited us to accompany him to Konya. Anna, myself, and two young Englishmen went on a trip with him. It was already late afternoon, and it started to get dark. Alan, one of our English friends, owned a car. I steered the car, and Anna was sitting in the passenger seat. We had just left Istanbul to get on the highway when I saw a police patrol approaching in the rearview mirror. They made signs for us to stop. I had neither a Turkish nor international driver's license. I looked at Yakub Baba, who was sitting in the back seat with the two English friends. "Stop and don't say a word. Nobody says a word," were his instructions. I stopped and opened my window. The officials looked inside the vehicle and began to speak to the Baba. After a while, they indicated to follow them. They got,
Of course, I thought we will go straight to jail or something like that.
they got into their patrol car and drove ahead of us. The Baba told me, "Follow them, everything will be okay." These policemen drove ahead of us for about 150 kilometers until we finally arrived on the country road that led directly to Konya. Halfway there, they stopped at a rest stop and invited us for tea and cake. I wondered who the dervishes were, them or us. When saying goodbyes, I asked us to pray for them and their families at Rumi's grave. Later, we asked Baba how he did it. He laughed, picked up his prayer beads, and said, "With that."
You remember yesterday when I told you the sunflowers you put on the roof?
Yes.
And never, no bird is going to the sunflowers. And I was looking at the sunflowers, and I was like thinking, why, you could go there, you should go there. And in that moment, they never went before. Three of these sparrows went there to pick out a seed. So, yeah, evidently we can do certain things just by thinking or feeling it. That's it.
Suggesting to
Mm.
whatever's out there. At a restaurant where we stopped for lunch, we encountered a rather unfriendly waiter. The restaurant was empty, and the young man apparently had no desire to serve the few guests who had suddenly appeared. The Baba asked us to sit at a table. After the waiter put napkins, cutlery, and glasses on the table, Jakub decided to sit at another table. The waiter, in all his bad mood, set the new table. The owner happily watched the action from the kitchen. Since the young man's mood had not changed, we sat down again at another table. The whole thing repeated itself until the waiter finally burst out laughing, and we were able to have a leisurely lunch break.
So now, if you are not tuned into that with that Jakub Baba, you start to argue.
Mm-hmm.
Say, come on, it can happen. One person has a bad day, and oh, you're the boss. You do, and it's uncomfortable for you because maybe you wouldn't do that to the waiter, but he knows what he's doing. It's the same thing with what the Sufi master said when we threw the car to the little boy, and threw again and again And again, he said, if a child is getting crazy, you do that.
Just keep giving the same thing.
No, you push them. No, and in the end, they will break down. They will start to laugh, and then everything is fine. No?
On our trip, we also reached the Turkish capital, Ankara. Here we visited a friend of the Baba. Dr. Noor was the head doctor of the hospital, a surgeon and an extremely charismatic person. The Baba told us that this man could answer any questions we had. I couldn't think of anything better than to say if it was good to listen to rock and roll music. If this music reminds you of the creator of the universe, that's good. Whatever brings us closer to the source is a help. However, rock and roll may be that for you, but maybe not for others. So don't push. Don't push that as
Don't
if
say that is the way you should live. That's what you have to do. No. No.
as you say, it's not intellectual. It's not a rule to say, oh, you listen to rock and roll and you will become spiritual. Yeah.
Oh, the telephone.
And your phone.
And my phone. Everything is working now. Ah, that's a code. He did something. And he needs to talk. So what? You go and read it. No, I listen later to that.
Vale.
Where's my phone?
Your phone is on the table. Maybe we wait. Un poquito de español. Because this is real life.
No, you have eyes to see.
Ah.
Look, you have to be the code.
Yes. Un momentillo. 2665.
Otra vez.
2665. ¿Sí? Muy bien. Thank you.
Okay, go on.
Okay. Dr. Noor invited us to his house, and later he took us to one of the most expensive restaurants in the city with a group of his students. We were probably 12 people. There was a large aquarium, and guests chose the fresh fish they wanted to consume. A fantastic meal was prepared. I sat across from the surgeon and was unable to look away from him. The plates, filled with the most exquisite ingredients, were served on the table in front of me and then sent away again without me even tasting a bite. The only thing I remember tasting was the strawberries with whipped cream, which were served as dessert.
You see, with cream, you see it? With cream.
Strawberries and cream.
Oh, he's again here.
Not
Okay.
pineapple and cream.
Maybe a new one.
I couldn't take my eyes off this person.
Otro. 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 You're intelligent. Another one.
Vale. 0320. No?
Glasses, maybe.
032D. D for December.
Maybe we leave this here.
Okay.
So then. So what happened now?
Where are we? You couldn't take his eyes off him, of Dr. Noor. You didn't eat all the delicious food.
Well, it was like the Last Supper with Jesus Christ. There were maybe 12 people sitting there. I was just sitting in front of him. It wasn't, no way. I couldn't eat. I couldn't just looking at that guy.
Mm.
That guy, no, that man, that saint, that holy man. Mm.
The doctor paid and we left the restaurant to say goodbye. The man looked directly at me and said, "Your creator loves you very much." He repeated this 3 times, turned around, and without looking back at us, got into his car and disappeared into the night. At that moment, I would have given anything to drive into the new life with him in that vehicle. A few weeks after this meeting, I was told in a dream that Dr. Noor was one of the highest spiritual personalities in Turkey, and my master confirmed this information. Besides Rumi, there is
Now
another.
wait for it. When I came to Istanbul,
Mm.
and maybe the master asked, "So where have you been? What have you done?"
Mhm.
And I told him about that man, and he said to me, "He's a big idiot." And then I told the Turkish master who's living in America, and he answered to them, "No, no, that guy's a complete idiot."
Mm.
And then it turned out that the Canadian boy who translated my dream to my master, who said, "You will be one of our masters," he was married with the daughter of that man from Ankara.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, "You know anything about that man?" And he said, "Well, I don't know. The only thing I can tell you is what his wife is saying. She is often coming at night into his room and he is sitting there crying." And in that moment, I knew that he is one of the highest spiritual people in the world, because that is what is happening. Because you are complaining to God. You are sad. You are sad. Why you made that? Why we have to suffer so much? You are suffering that. And then later I had a dream, and then the master confirmed, yeah, yeah, he's that. But first, and he did that,
To poke you.
no, for not to help me not to destroy the relationship that I have with my master, because my master would have become smaller.
Mm.
And that would have not been good for me.
Mm.
And when I was ready, then it was okay to know that, but not
Mm.
before. When I came back from that journey and wow, that man and blah 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 blah, he said, "No, that guy is an idiot."
Mm.
So that was protection. Mm. Okay, okay,
Yes.
okay, okay.
Besides Rumi, there is another Sufi poet in Turkey who is very well known and popular and was a contemporary of Rumi. Yunus Emre. Yaku Baba wanted to take us to the grave.
Just for everyone to know, I received a very beautiful present, a very huge book, red, maybe with golden letters, the poems of Yunus Emre,
Mm.
in Turkish and in English.
Mm.
That book I gave personally into the hand of a young girl that came from America, to give it personally into the hands of John Bon Jovi, because he appeared in a dream to me, and he said, "If there's anyone on this planet who can guide me to the right way, please let me know." So I sent him that beautiful book. That was Yunus Emre. Okay.
Yaku Baba wanted to take us to the grave of this famous man. We named our trip the Tomb Tour.
That's
Because,
what is waiting for you now when
yes.
we go. My own only interest is to go from one tomb to another, to show you that, because you are able to feel that, so that hopefully
Yeah.
will be very good for you. Okay.
We called it the Tomb Tour because the Baba led us from one saint's grave to the next. At the time, none of us could understand what it was all about. So we left the main road and finally made our way along a dirt road to a tiny village. There we were invited by a family to spend the night in their house. The whole family slept in a single room with blankets and mattresses, while we, the guests, were given all the bedrooms to spend the night in. That's
In a
hospitality,
very,
huh?
very like poor village only earth track to come there. And these people immediately they moved out of their rooms. They slept all together in the living room and gave us the bedrooms.
I have similar experiences from India, maybe not with staying overnight, but with food. They will give everything. So I always, and you try to give them something in return, they say no, 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 because it's hospitality. In India, they believe guest is God. So you treat them with whatever you can. So you don't always
You have the
put
same.
money under the
You can
carpet
say
somewhere.
I'm a guest of God, no? So you have the same feeling for that.
I would always just push money somewhere. Just leave it there. Eventually, they find it. Maybe. The next morning, a farmer came with a tractor and a trailer. We were instructed to get on the trailer and were taken about 3 kilometers into the surrounding.
Before that the tractor came, we went to the square of the village. There was the little mosque, and all the people of the village came, and the master Jakob Baba was standing there and talking. That was like completely seeing a scene of the Bible. Like Jesus coming to a place, and everyone was eager to listen to him. And maybe most of the people were much older than him. No, everyone wanted to hear his words. Beautiful situation. And then the tractor came.
And took you 3 kilometers into the surrounding hills. Everything was very green. There was a kind of mausoleum on one of the hills. This was the final resting place of Yunus Emre.
So my son, he was 3 years old. He was sitting on the trailer, there on the tractor, holding. And the Jakob Baba said to me, look at him, look at him. And he was there saying, who, who, which is a name for God, not saying Allah, saying who, that, it, the thing, like something like that. And then later we went on our journey, and my son knew some words from the first chapter of the Quran. He knew it, he heard it, he knew it. And we were driving on the road, and my son looked to the right side and he started to recite that. And the Jakob Baba said, yeah, there are some tombs of saints. So he perceived that. Now look what he's doing now with his life. Rejecting all that completely. My daughter received that perfectly. No, no, no. And I just remember that when they said, yeah, Bismillah, I don't know what he said. There were tombs of saints, so he could perceive that.
I say, as children, we are still more open and still more perceptive.
Yeah, but he was into that. He was guided by that, and now he's old and he's rejecting that completely. No? Okay. No.
So near this final resting place of Yunus Emre, there was a tree with no leaves. Baba explained to us that the Sufi poet used to sit under this tree to meditate or write his verses. This tree has been here for hundreds of years. It is said that from the moment Yunus left this world, the tree never again bore any leaves. And yet, the tree is alive. This is the mourning of a tree for its beloved friend.
You know, the Yunus Emre is the one who got connected with the master, and the master said to him, you go to the forest to cut wood. And he went for 30 years. He was never admitted in the house of the master. That's what they say. So after 30 years he came, he approached the house of the master, and the wife of the master came out, and she said, what do you want? And I would like to see the master. And she went in and came out, and he said, no. And Yunus Emre said to her, so what did you say? I said, yeah, Yunus is here. And the master said, our Yunus? And Yunus said, that's the only thing I wanted to hear. I go back to the forest. Yeah.
Back in Istanbul, we received an invitation to dinner from an acquaintance of Hendrik's. Anna stayed at home and I went to the friend's house with Hendrik and Alan. After dinner, we chatted for a while, and the friend, Mehmet, started talking about a well-known Baba, a saint. Suddenly, Mehmet stopped and asked, "Did you feel that?" Hendrik and Alan felt absolutely nothing, but I suddenly felt the hair on my right arm stand. I noticed this feeling in my arm before Mehmet asked his question. The friend added, "Whenever you talk about them, they come."
Mm.
Yeah, so maybe all of these tingling feelings that I always get is also that.
That's it. They come in some way.
Then,
There's a saying which says if two people talk in my name, supposedly God is saying that I am the third.
Yeah.
No, so it's quite clear. It depends on what you are focused on in your life.
Yeah.
If you are not focused on that, that help will not come. That
How can it if you don't
no,
believe in it, if you don't
you
admit
have
it,
it
if you
not
don't.
in your life, then it's simply not there.
On a sunny Sunday afternoon, Hendrik and I stood on the banks of the Bosphorus, where we had observed the strange black cat some time ago. There was a small shipyard where they built a yacht. We wondered who the owner was when an elegantly dressed man with one of these suitcases typical of a businessman approached us. He greeted us in English, and Hendrik asked him if he was the owner of the yacht. The man said no, and I wanted to know from him where he came from. "I come from the headquarters," was his unexpected answer. I felt uncomfortable with his answer, and we said goodbye. We went to a wooden bench about 50 meters away and settled there to look at the water. The man approached us again and explained that he had written a letter in English to a friend in London. Since he was Turkish himself and a little shy, as he said, he asked us to read and correct the letter since we both spoke English. Hendrik stood next to the stranger and I behind them. The man pulled the letter out of his jacket pocket and opened it. We started reading. What we got to see there was the most beautiful and exquisite English that I had ever read in my life. Hendrik got angry and said, "You know exactly that you speak English much better than we do. So why this nonsense about showing us the letter?" I had started reading the lines, and what was written there was literally a description of an experience I had had on one of my previous trips to Turkey. Tears ran over my face, and we left the man there to go home. A little later, I ran to the shore again to meet the man again without my friend, but there was no one there.
Yes. The master said, these things will happen now more often to you. If you are open for that, you want to see that, so they will show it to you.
We often went by ferry to the center of the city to go to the Dargah. During the crossing, I thought about the fact that we had been living here for a while and perhaps it would soon be time to return to Spain. When I greeted Kemal Baba, he looked at me seriously and informed me of the following: "Your time here is over. There is nothing more that you could learn here. Go back to Spain and look after your own people."
And it was to the day 7 months, what the healer said. Might be 7 weeks, 7 months, or 7 years. It was to the day 7 months.
When I asked whether we should live better in the city or in the countryside, he said, "In the city, you have to be available to people to help them." "Do you have any question?" the Baba wanted to know. "Not now, at that moment. The questions come back when I go through the doors of the airport," I answered.
First he asked, now we can finish, no?
Yes.
First he asked, because there would have been the possibility to go to Germany, to live in Germany, or to go to Spain. And he asked, your wife is from where? From Spain. He said, then you should go to Spain. It's always a woman who are more attached to the family than men, so you should be close to the family of your wife. Okay. Goodbye now.
Yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Till the next time.
Nice to see you.